Get ready for your daily dose of WordPress and web development tips, tricks, and insights to help you find success with WordPress. You're listening to WP the Podcast with your hosts, David Blackman and Tim Streifler.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of WP the Podcast, brought to you by WP Gears. I'm David Blackman.
And I'm Tim Streifler.
Today in episode 626, we're going to talk about how to use WordPress user roles to manage website access. Now this comes into play with anyone who has a WordPress website. You may have people that work on your website that contribute as authors, or they do front-end work, back-end work, and you may not want them having access to your entire site. And that's what the role editor is used for. It's to control users' ability to do specific things on your website. So Tim's going to kind of let us know what each role is, and then we're going to kind of dive into it a little more.
Yeah, and let me just say really quickly, if you have to give someone access to your website, the last thing you want to do is send someone your admin username and password. So the existing username and password that you use to log into your site. And for some of you, are like, well, duh, of course I want to do that. But it happens a lot, and we see it a lot with our product support companies where our support will say, hey, we need access to the site. Please give us admin access. And a user will actually send us the username and password that they use. And it's like, they didn't reset the password or anything. It's just super insecure. So what you want to do is you want to give someone their own user account depending on the access level that they need. So in the example I just gave with like product support and that sort of thing, you're probably going to want to give admin, but you want to create a new admin user. That way, when you're done, the support department is done fixing the issue or whatever, you can simply delete the admin account and then it's gone. The access has been revoked. And so that way you don't give out your actual username and password. So just wanted to kind of say that first up, and that's kind of why WordPress has the ability to have a user account, so everyone's not logging in with the same username and password. But the highest level of for a typical WordPress site is admin. Now I say typical because if you're using WordPress multi-site, we're not going to get into that in this episode. WordPress multi-site has a super admin user account. We'll discuss that on a later episode. But for a standard WordPress install, admin's the highest level. Everything is included in that access. So you can add new users, you can add new plugins, new themes, you can edit all of the plugins and themes and stuff like that. You have access to everything.
Awesome. Next is the editor role. They don't have the ability to add plugins, change themes, add users. The only thing that they can do is add and edit and remove content. So, for example, you write blog posts and you put blog content on your website, and editor's going to basically be able to have admin privileges for your blog, basically. They're going to be able to create new, publish, post content and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, the next user access role is a little less than the editor, is the author. Now, authors can add and edit their own content, but they can't edit other content. So the editor, like the name suggests, can edit and have access to everything, where an author can only add and edit their own content. And so they can't go and delete someone else's post or add to it or anything like that, but they can access their own stuff. And they can even publish as well.
And the last role that we're going to talk about is a contributor. A contributor can add content to your website, but they do not have the ability to publish. So if you want to review something before it's actually published, or if you want to control when content is published on your site, you may want to consider using the contributor role for people who produce content on your site. That way you have access, you have the ability to manage when that content is actually published.
Yeah. Now, those are all of the default built-in roles that come with WordPress out of the box: admin, editor, author, contributor. However, other plugins will add additional user roles depending on what the plugin does and that sort of thing. So, for example, WooCommerce and Easy Digital Downloads will add like subscriber or customer user roles, as well as like shop manager or store manager or whatever, to be able to add and edit products and access store details and stuff like that. And so depending on the plugins you're using, you might see additional user roles there. Now, there's also ways to create custom user roles as well as edit the roles. So for example, maybe you want a WooCommerce store manager to do everything that they can by default, but you also want to add maybe one additional capability that normally isn't included. Well, using a plugin that will allow you to edit the roles, such as Advanced Access Manager or User Role Editor, we'll have the links to those in the show notes. You can go in and you can make changes to those roles or create an entirely new role and add different capabilities. So it basically pulls in the different capabilities of your site, and you can kind of customize what you want the role to be able to do, which is really powerful. And then one last thing we want to recommend is always test this. Like, make sure that if you're giving someone access, that you know everything that they have access to and don't guess. Actually see what they're saying. And there's a really easy way to do that. You can use a plugin called User Switching or User Switcher, one of the two. And basically you can go into WP Admin Users and then click the Switch To link, and it will show you what they see when they're logged in. And so that way you can see everything they have access to and so forth. So you know what you're giving people access to on your site. So that's really important.
Absolutely. We hope this episode has been helpful on how to use WordPress user roles and give you some ideas on how to manage what the users can do and not do on your site. Tomorrow we've got another great topic, how to control the Facebook thumbnail in WordPress. Tim?
Take care. Bye-bye.
Until tomorrow, we'll see you then.
We've come to the end of today's episode of WP the Podcast. Join us tomorrow for more daily tips and strategies designed to help you run your WordPress business toward success. Remember to subscribe to WP the Podcast so you can stay up to date with each episode. And don't forget to rate and review us. We'll see you again tomorrow right here on WP the Podcast.